Well, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and Bobby Atkins is here. How's it going, Bobby?
Going great, Ed. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Good.
Still haven't shaved this week, as you can tell.
Yeah,
It's November. Time to start growing it.
I keep it clean around here, man. But
I usually, anyway, it just depends on what's going on. I'm on the phone so much anymore, and you only see a client occasionally or on here, so
yeah,
no one cares.
Yeah, a little different when you're in the office, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you're on video, you could be wearing shorts. No one would know.
Actually, you probably are right now.
Well, usually I've been wearing a lot more pants lately because it's been colder.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Kind of we were talking before the show, and you were saying that a lot of buyers feel like they're getting sold these days on bill of goods or something.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, because as markets shift, buyers, especially first-time buyers, they're very slow to kind of adapt to the new markets, right? And there's this. I've seen it with questions at open houses, at showings, things like that, where there's this apprehension, right? Like they're like, well, everything I hear on the news tells me that the housing market is going to collapse and we should wait 2 years to buy a house,
Mm-hmm.
And then I explained to them, well, it's not. I explained all the reasons. I mean, I talk about beating a dead horse, explaining to each person individually why the housing market won't collapse.
I think we talked about this on Tuesday. There's not a housing issue. There is a information issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that ties into kind of what I was talking about, right? It's like, at a certain point, you're going to have to, if you want to buy a house, this is the market to buy it in, right? But you also have to put a certain level of trust into people like your lender and your realtor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're here to help you get through that process and actually get you into a home. And a lot of times people, they've watched too much HGTV and House Hunters. And
International.
And they say, okay, well, now that we've looked at these 3 homes, here's our strategy. And our strategy is we're going to lowball them and asking for everything.
Right.
And I'm like, please, no, trust me on this. All you're doing is wasting everyone's time.
And all those reality shows are not reality shows. They're all scripted. They're all this. It's all. I mean, Love It or List It. All those are all scripted,
garbage.
And it's horrible.
They were never even going to list the house, or they never.
No, they're never going to sell it. They were going to just fix it anyway.
Yeah, and they just made a show about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I can see your point, but because a lot of people are afraid, and that's what I'm talking about this year. A lot of people are so worried about the housing market because 2008 was so recent.
Yeah.
Right. It's not 40 years ago or 30 years ago. It was only like 14 years ago or whatever. It was 2008 plus 10 with the 18 plus 4 is so 14 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
Before you know, it'll be 15. So it's so fresh in everybody's mind because they lived it and what happened to their parents, what happened to other people, that they're afraid to make a mistake and be in the same situation. I totally get that. It's so recent. The one thing that nobody understands is inflation, because that's been 42 years ago was the last time. The average person is 38 in the United States. And, the issue is if you're 50 or 55, you only remember about the gas lines and your parents bitching about can't get gas today. You have to wait till tomorrow because you're even number or odd.
I have heard those stories.
And but that's it. You just hear the stories. Mm-hmm. See the difference? One is fresh that they lived through. 30-year-olds lived through this, right? They were in their teens while their parents were like, we're losing our house. We got to move. We got to do this. We got to do that, right? So that's fresh in their minds. I get that. That's there. My kids don't understand that because they were too young to remember that, right? But the people who are in that 31 years old age right now is going, hey, this sounds like 2008. And plus all these newscasters who, instead of reporting the news, skew the news their way. Right. Well, their opinion is put into it also.
The way they keep you watching the news is keep you afraid of the news. What's coming next, right?
Right.
All the money's on advertising. That's one thing people, and I would say this is like the older generation
Which older generation? Because could get offended here in a second.
I'm obviously 30 and over, right?
32.
Right. Yeah. But no, I mean, folks who grew up just like it's a habit of watching the news. They don't realize that that everything's funded through paid advertising, right?
Right.
I mean, there's a reason they keep you, in a 30-minute news cycle, right? So you keep watching, and you see the advertising in between.
Well, you also have to remember, there's not like, oh, check out this feel good story. What good? No, they go check out we had 27 murders in this town, or
Yeah.
this girl walked home and this person, it's all negative. And that's how they sell newspapers, how they get you to watch the news. I tell people, stop doing that. Just, if you want to know what's going on, go on CNBC. They're the most non-skewed one way or another.
Yeah.
I like Fox Business myself because I like Varney because he's from England and moved here. He was an immigrant and he knows exactly what happens with inflation and everything that's going on. So his skew is right on with what's going on because he lived one side of it. Now he's over here.
Yeah.
But prior to a few years ago, I always watched CNBC and that told you everything and told you where the market was, what to do. Yes, they have one lady on who is always negative about the housing market. Even when it's good, she always finds a way to be negative about it. But you have to
remember, doesn't like houses.
You got two things here. Inflation. Yeah. What is the only asset that protects you against inflation?
It's going to be a home, right?
That's
Hard
correct.
assets, right?
Yeah, that's correct, because it's going to appreciate with inflation, period. So when you rent, you also have inflation, but that's in your payment going to go up every year and go up higher and higher and higher. And before you know it, you should have bought 10 years ago. How many people are looking back going, man, I should have bought 4 years ago or 3 years ago or 2 years ago or a year ago? Those are the same people who are going to, in 4 years from now, go, I should have bought back in 2022 when Ed, Brian, Bobby, George, everybody was telling us what to do and how to go do this. And we didn't listen. You have the one guy I don't really care for, Dave Ramsey, and it's nothing to do with him personally. He just tells everybody to pay off your credit cards and cut them up while you're paying them off and close them. What's the one thing you lose when you close your credit card account, your credit? The history, all history of that credit card is gone. So you now have no FICO score.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we all say, oh, we can help you. But it's harder. Just pay the cards off. Well, I can't really. Then I understand that some people go to AA and they have to, and some people don't have an issue. Well, that's the same with credit cards. Some people have a major problem with them. You shouldn't have them then. Just understand that you're going to limit yourself to manual underwrite, and it's only about 5% of the nation, lenders out there that will do that.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, so what? Well, it just limits again. Why limit yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and going back to especially
I'm gonna pick up my glasses.
Yeah. Especially like first time home buyers, right? They say, well, everything I hear says that the market's going to collapse, right? And why would I want to buy this house at this time, right?
Right.
And I tell them, well, first of all, I can tell you, the market is not going to collapse. The economy is not going to collapse, right? We're not in that kind of area right now. But what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself not in a home. And so here's a way to think about it as someone who owns a home, right? I bought my house for $235,000. It's probably worth about $530 right now, even in this market.
Even in this market. So you just did it too.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, come on, let's be honest. The interest
even in this market, no, your house value has nothing to do with interest rates.
Yeah. It's what people can pay for it, man.
Someone can buy cash.
Yeah. I mean, I know
there's people out there who have cash still.
Yeah.
There's investors all day long who are buying up properties all over. They're buying 1,500 doors, 2,000 doors constantly. And I know them. They're picking up every piece of property they can.
Look, man. I mean, I agree. When rates were at 2.5%, 3%, come on.
I'm not talking about that. They're paying cash for these, dude.
Yeah, I know that. But trust me, someone's not going to pay me the same value of cash. They're going to come in lowball, right?
Only but you don't have to sell. Look at how much equity you have.
Well, you cut me off what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
I was making a point.
I know, but you did exactly what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, because
in this market,
I'm not going to lie, man. People look at the market and they see, the house is selling for less than what they went on the market for originally, or what they would have sold for a year ago. I mean, I'm not going to blow smoke at people's butt,
But they're not that far off.
No, it's not, and that's what I'm trying to say. That was the point I was getting to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is just because I have $300,000 in equity in my house doesn't mean that I don't like my house or love it any more than I did, 2 years ago or, 10 years ago when I bought it. Right. So if you bought a house today and it dropped in value by $50,000, if you love the house and you're living in it, what does it matter? When it only matters when you go to sell it.
Right. And that's not going to be a year from now.
No,
it's going to be 5 years from now.
If you're buying a house, you're buying it as somewhere for you to live. Obviously, it's a long-term investment.
Right. So, but people buy cars all the time.
Oh yeah, car's the worst investment you can ever buy.
Right, but they don't complain about that.
Yeah.
I want a 12, these people are, the average car payment right now is $1,000 a month.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. And that's obviously interest rates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything to do with interest rates.
I mean, that's, like,
That's everything. So it's not just houses. This is the market you're in. You want to protect yourself, you want to fix your payment, want to know what that number is from here going forward, buy a house. That's the only way to do it. You can get the seller to help you with your rate. You can do that kind of stuff. That's plenty of money there to do that. And like you said, yes, we're probably giving away 5% maybe towards whatever, but there's so much equity in these markets right now. Just like you said, you have an average of 300,000. Most people have 300,000 in equity in their home. That's just shocking.
It is. But
what I mean is that's what people are having problems with, right? Because they used to 2 years ago, it was like, yes, we can find you something around 375 as a starter home or whatever. Now it's 450, right?
Man, even just a couple of years ago, like I got some of my friends in the 365, man. This was early 2020,
So you're 20 grand off of what I said. But,
yeah, I'm just saying, like, what a great home in Turlock, right?
Right.
Turlock's a market that's priced a little bit higher than Modesto.
Right. But that's the thing is values have went up.
Yeah.
Earnings could go up, or they have. And if you can't afford it right now, look to see if you can get a different job. Get into trades, man. They're paying ridiculously right now to get you into a trade. You can make 100 grand a year starting at, or 75 as an apprentice doing certain things. It's ridiculous.
Are they still paying a lot for truck drivers?
They're paying a lot for everything. There's none of that stuff out there because nobody wants to do it. People want to sit at home and do affiliate marketing.
Well, you know what people don't realize is the longer that they don't do these trades, the more incentive there is to automate them. And they've
you can't automate a plumber.
No,
where are you going to get that crack at?
Truck driving, though, man, that is one of those.
They're going to get that's automated.
Yeah. My brother-in-law is a truck driver, man, and he's looking 10 years down the road at having to change careers.
Right. Well, or there might be some that can't be automated. Like you're going to diesel and get petrol, hazard chemicals, certain things that they wouldn't want to be automated because they want a human in control just in case.
Transporting nuclear waste.
Something, what nuclear waste? We don't have any power plants anymore. They're offline. We have one left in California. Yeah. And they extended that one. They were going to shut it down because we can't afford our electricity. We don't have enough of it.
It's probably making most of the power.
We got way off on subject today, but truly back to, all right. Yes, market is not as hot as it was. But there's still only one buyer for your house. You can only sell it to one person. So it doesn't matter if 3 people looking at it or one person's looking at it. You can only sell it to one person. And things are going to change. That's why when I was back to Dave Ramsey about the credit cards, that I got off my little tangent there. But what I was trying to say is the fact that he says you're going to look back 5 years from now, say this is the best time to buy. Grant Cardone is saying that, up until April of next year, you're going to look back and saying this is the best time to buy anything and everything you can. That's where it's at. I have people flipping homes who are like, okay, what's 10%? I don't care. Right. And you're going flipping homes right now. There are some things that are coming up that are like, okay, people are really worried about it. And so they're doing really amazing deals on them right now.
Yeah.
That need a lot of work, which is we're not though in 2008. We don't have a financial crisis in the mortgage industry. Well, we kind of do in the mortgage industry, but that's beside the point. That's just not enough loans going through to support the amount of people in it. And so we're going to see a consolidation of mortgage companies like nobody's business this year, which is okay because that's what happens. You don't need as many people. We have 3,100 real estate agents in Modesto.
Yeah.
Do you really need 3,100 real estate agents in Modesto for how many thousands of homes there are?
Well, we're not no longer. We're not going to anymore, right? I mean, I know I was just at a seminar a couple weeks ago when the guy was predicting that probably we're going to see a realtor fallout of about 35 to 50%.
Like if you can't sell something because there's not a lot to sell, I think we're selling 200 and some homes a week. Divide that. That's one for every 10 real estate agent.
Yeah.
If you can't sell something, you can't eat. And if you can't eat, you got to go somewhere else. And that's the same with the mortgage industry. I'm more in purchase and reverse than I've ever been. I mean, I've always been purchase, but I'm just getting pulled in the reverse because that's something where you can keep your asset and actually use your equity in it.
Yeah.
Right. And stay there. And are they worried about the fact that they took their money out of their house to survive and they're able to stay in their house and not make a payment? No, they're not worried about that. Why should back to the buyers thing we were talking about, how they're feeling that you're selling to them? Again, it's about information. They need better information than what they're getting. And that's why they need to research a little bit more.
Yeah.
Don't Google everything, maybe DuckDuckGo it or whatever, but just look and talk to your parents, talk to other people about it and find out why. And this is why I always tell people, ask them why 3 times. Why are you, why are you looking to buy right now? And what are you looking at? Why are you looking at that? And you find out why they're doing it. You need to know their why. It's the only reason to help somebody. And that's, if you're helping them understand what they're doing, that's still a sales process, but you're really not. You're educating them on the process. And that's what we do.
Well, that's the whole thing. I never want to convince someone to buy a house. In fact, a lot of times I'll walk through a house with someone and be like, I see a ton of issues in here. I would think about looking at something different. Right.
Right. But I always tell people, do a T account, pros and cons, write down all the reasons they should buy it. And then on the other side, write why they shouldn't buy it and see which one works better.
Yeah.
And what I mean is pros and cons, but that's for most people. I mean, well, I can't afford $1,000 more a month right now. Then you just can't do it right now. Right. But you can see if the seller can help you buy that rate down. Maybe it's only $300 different a month.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the difference. Most buyers today don't know what that payment was at 3%.
Not if they're just entering the market. That's correct.
Yeah. I mean, if they've been in the market for that long, they lost. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's too bad. But yeah, they don't really know what that payment was. It's only us, and we're in our own way.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Most of us are in our own way. We need to get out of it because there's people who during all markets make a lot of money, and that's where it is. And you need to figure that out. And if you can't do it off the job you have today, go get a different one because there's a lot of them out there.
And for the first time buyers that are looking at these markets and they're looking at the news, right?
I know
you have to understand that every market's hyper local, and even if it's a news program out of Sacramento doesn't apply to Modesto, and not everyone knows creative financing, right? And that's the good thing about working directly with a lender is you learn all the tricks of the trade where you can get you into that home and sometimes not out of your own pocket.
Right. And also how to get your score up 40 points, add your rental history on there. Yeah. Boom, you're up 40 points. You're in a different pricing point.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Knowing how to get your score up so that you can, if you're FHA, you can get up to a 680 and that's a totally different price point than a 620 or those 580s everybody jumps around about.
Yeah.
But even at 580, we can get you up to 620 by just adding the rental history on there.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking the one you heard about with the Parcaut. That program, it's a different program because that program is not included in the algorithms that lenders use.
Gotcha.
Can't think what that's called right now. What's that called?
I don't know. I'm not familiar.
The John Cena commercials where he has a purple cow and he's like talking. Oh, you never watched TV?
No.
No. It's to get your score up, add all utilities on. I can't think of it. Anyway. It'll come to me tomorrow.
Gotcha.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for listening to us rant today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Thanks, Bobby, for being here. And everybody, if you like what we do, just follow.